very respected immediate past chairman of SIRC and my good friend CA DC Jain, speaker of this evening CA Anand P. Jangid from Bengaluru, secretary of SIRC Panaraj sir from Bellary, members of this great profession. Very good evening to all of you. Dear members, our profession is facing a lot of challenges with the conventional audit, since the compliance level is increasing day by day because of the digital era and a lot of information and the data is available with the government departments. At the same time, I can foresee the great opportunities in the areas of information technology to get familiarized the new areas of audit and to sharpen our knowledge. We have to attend more and more informative session like today's program in the field of information technology. It is necessary that members are kept abreast on the features and the benefits of these technologies to enhance our professional services. It is therefore the prime objective of SIRC is conduct to various programs to impart additional knowledge to its members and creating awareness about the new professional opportunities and equip our members to face the challenges and convert those challenges into an opportunity. We at SIRC, based on the many members' requests and their suggestions, we have launched the annual subscription to members to attend 70 hours CPE program, exclusively program on the areas of information technology. So the members can avail the scheme and get benefit out of this excellent initiative. I'm sure the program of this nature helps SIRC to achieve the objects and equip our members to get exposure in the field of information technology. Today we have with us two important speakers. One is CA Anand to discuss about the key issues for adopting the cloud computing for digital transformation, and another speaker, very good speaker, Sarup Koyenga, to address on the another very important topic, the artificial intelligence to auditing intelligence, role of predictive technology for the future. On behalf of SIRC, I welcome Speaker C. Anand sir, and we are greatly thankful to our learned speaker for accepting our invitation and addressing us. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you,
The
sir.
most importantly, I welcome all the members who are attending this excellent program and thank each one of you for your active participation in SIRC programs. I'm happy to welcome my colleague CA DC Jain, and my sincere thanks to him for coordinating this excellent program for the benefit of members. Thank you, DC. Now I request DC Jain, the immediate past chairman of SIRC, to share some of his thoughts relating to technology and other professional development with our members. Now over to the DC.
Yeah, beloved chairman of SIRC and my good friend CA K. Jalapati, CA Panaraj sir, though senior to me, I will also call him as my friend, and Anand P. Jangid, the speaker, friend as well actually. Profession 2.0, that's an excellent theme. It's an era of sequels, be it Bahubali, be it Robo, or be it the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. It's all 2.0, and definitely 2.0 is happening with a lot of vigor, including the COVID, the second wave. Probably we are waiting for the third wave also to come. In fact, I recall in one of the newsletters in the past, we did tell that the technology will not replace chartered accountants. The technology will not replace chartered accountants, but chartered accountants with technology will replace chartered accountants without technology. So which we have been preaching, and the chairman and the team have rightfully thought that let us give just not one program, two program, but also a 70-hour of program, so that they kind of get to know all of everything, and then whichever area suits them, they can dive further. I would like to only recall a small story which I heard long back, that there was a group of rats which were passing through the where there were cats, and then this one rat stumbled upon something and created a noise, and then suddenly the rats were worried. Then one of the rats just created a sound, said meow, and the cats didn't mind, thinking that this is another cat. So one of the rats asked, what was that? Said, no, this is the power of second language. Now similarly, it does not stop that you learn only the auditing. You got to know technology whether you like it or not. So like the power of second language, you will be only able to perform if you have the power of technology. And today we have rightfully two very excellent speakers, Anand and Saurabh, who are going to take us through what the profession is poised going ahead and how we can take benefit of this. So wish you all a very, very happy learning.
Thank you. Thank you, DG. Thank you so much for valuable time spending with us and coordinating this program, and with a great story as usual, with some input. Thank you. Thank you. Now I request the Secretary of SIRC, Panaraj sir, to introduce the speaker.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, IPC, Mr. Jain, for the excellent story of second language. We will definitely remember, and I'll use it in other fora also. It's always happy to see Mr. Anand. He makes these 2 hours session always. I feel every time when he speaks, the computer is so easy. Once I leave him, again I am back in my own position. So you have to take the responsibility of making me tech savvy, Mr. Anand. With this, I take the pleasure of introducing Anand Prakash Jangid, a passionate evangelist for tax-based disruption in audit and finance domain. Anand is professionally a chartered accountant and certified financial system auditor, and his focus areas are forensic audit, IS audit, fraud analytics, and blockchain for internal audit function. Anand was part of the risk management team at Goldman Sachs, covering multiple audits across much geography for different functions in the organization. His areas of specialization were forex audit, DP audits, anti-money laundering, Basel II, BCP, and operational risk. Prior to Goldman Sachs, he was with the ES Consulting Group in Infosys Technologies Limited, Bengaluru. Here, he was involved in the development of regulatory compliance framework for various compliances like Sarbanes-Oxley Act, etc., and was part of the team developing solution for Basel II accord implementation. His responsibilities included working in sync with the project of Infosys Consulting, Dallas. He has been involved in enterprise risk management, implementation, and IT audit for many international projects at USA, UK, Japan, China, etc. Other professional interests are he is a visiting faculty at IIM Bengaluru, teaching IS audit and fraud analytics, speaker at North America CACs and Euro CACs of ISACA, visiting faculty at ISACA, ICAI, and Wellington Institute of Management. With this, I introduce the very special Anand Prakash Jain. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It's a pleasure. I've known Panaraj sir and DC Jain sir for a long time. It's always a pleasure to be in their thing. And Jalpati sir, thanks a lot for the opportunity. And I can see Revati ma'am has also joined. Just wanted to ask one thing, guys. Can you see my screen right now as a presentation, because I was using a dual screen, so you can see the presentation, right?
Yes,
Okay, great.
Presentation.
Yeah, so I'm using a dual monitor, so I think there is an other monitor I'm presenting. So is it my screen?
Anand, it is in this what is it? This presentation mode or the speaker mode actually? It's not full presentation.
Not
Display
okay,
settings, make it duplicate so that it will be.
Display settings. Okay, one moment. Just a minute. No, I'm using 2 monitors, so this is what happens.
So that was fine. You just have to click that display full. That's all.
Display settings, you have a drop down where you can select duplicate slide, so it will be in a full mode.
Yeah, it will be duplicate slide, but only thing which is there is if I'm using a dual monitor, I will not be able to. Oh, no problem. I'll actually work it out. Just let me stop this dual monitor.
Technology 2.0 dual monitors are being
No, I actually this is something which I want to share with all my professional colleagues here. This is, please start using dual monitor. There are a lot of surveys which says your efficiency goes very high if you are using a dual monitor. So it's actually the way of the future. So nothing else worry. I think you can see the screen, and I just minimize this. It's okay. There are sometimes too much of technology also sometimes has an issue. Okay. Okay. So so friends, the topic which was given to me, and I was actually discussing, I was just thinking it up. that how I would be able to add value on this topic. So the topic is on key issue of adopting cloud computing for digital transformation. And this topic is very close to my heart because of two reasons. And Jalapati sir has rightly said about that the pandemic has actually accelerated the change which was happening. You know, I have been talking about this with Jain sir and Panara sir for a long time when I tell that this is going to change, whether we like it or not. But of late, I did my articleship in a very small and medium firm out here in Bangalore. Now they have become a bit bigger firm comparatively. And I can see the change which has happened in one way, I would say. When the first wave of pandemic hit us last year, I got a call from my principal where I did my articleship, and he asked me one question that Anand, you know, what are the kind of tools which we can do, which is going to help us, you know, in terms of working remotely, work from home. So from whatever my knowledge was there, I shared some of the thought process in terms of that, sir, we can do it like this, we can do this way, and all that kind of thing. I just, you know, pointed out there. Now I'm also part of the alumni network. So there is a WhatsApp group on the alumni network. And I was very surprised when one very interesting thing happened this time. Then the second wave came. I got a message on that where it was actually a kind of a message given by them to all their clients saying that as the second wave is coming, before the lockdown in Bangalore I'm talking about, they purposefully they went, you know, to work from home mode, and they sent all the message that please raise your tickets or any issues on this platform and we will be able to support you. Now I'm not a big fan of work from home, but what I understand from this perspective is people are adapting to technology very fast. And, you know, sometime when we are pushed, we'll do the adoption better. So all of these things, what is happening today, and one thing I can tell you, cloud plays a very important role in this whole environment. And we need to understand that the impact of these things are going to happen in future a lot. And you know, something I'm sure a lot of people who have heard me, especially in SIRC, is like, and I'm from a south, you know, southern region. So I have spoken at many places, and one of the regular feature I talk about is that you know, in the future we are going to have a lot more changes which is coming in terms of how we deal with you know, different things. So let's say, for example, what I wanted to show it to you is one of the report I always mention, and that is actually what I call it as future of job report, and I'm sure all of you heard about that. I would highly recommend you to go and read the report, because if you see the technologies which are impacting, number one on that was cloud computing. So we need to understand this concept of cloud computing, because it is also very close to us as chartered accountant. You know, we are the people who talk about capex versus opex. So for people like us, this is something which is, you know, a kind of God sent opportunity which is there, and I'll explain you how it is important. So we will take it from this perspective. We'll do a check-in. What are the things which are changing around us in the cloud? We'll understand the cloud, because I know a lot of people have different perspective on that. And I was thinking what would be the best way of explaining it up. So I would like to talk about the cloud, what it is. We need to understand the cloud risk also, not just from helping our client. Internally also, when we are using any cloud-based application, any cloud-based services, there are some challenges which are there. So the key issues we need to understand, and how we can add value as chartered accountant, both on advisory side and assurance side. I will explain it to you what are the points which are there, and then we will have a checkout. So friends, this would be the, you know, agenda for the discussion, and feel free to give your questions, and if you want to interrupt me at any point of time, I'm more than happy, because the objective is that all of us understand this in detail, what it is, how it can actually work it out. And this part becomes very important for all of us to appreciate this changes which are happening in the environment. So to start with, let me give you an overview of this cloud. Now, first question comes is, why is it called cloud computing? Is it like something goes into the you know, air or anything like that? Now, the fundamental, a lot of people don't know, the fundamentals why it is called cloud is two reasons. The first is if you go into any flow chart. So the symbol of internet is cloud. So it is, if you are trying to visualize, I'm making a flow chart and I have to show this is going into the internet, the person will create a cloud because cloud is something which is something which is happening in internet outside of the network, and we are not bothered about that. So that is the symbol of the cloud. Second thing is, let's say Jain sir buys an iPhone, and what is going to happen is he's going to pay around 1 lakh rupees for that iPhone, or maybe more than that nowadays. I'm not sure what is the price. And there may be in this iPhone, there may be something around 300 features. Now the question arises, is DC Jain sir using all the 300 features of this piece of technology? Maybe yes, maybe no. Now, if he's not using it, there may be some feature like accelerometer is there, some other point are there. If any other features are there, and if he's not using it, don't you think we should not have Mr. Jain sir pay for that, right? Because then the question will come is, I am not actually using it, but I'm paying for the service. The architects of cloud computing were those people. These were the people who said, why can we have computing as what we call it as, if you have heard this term, as a utility. When I say utility, I am trying to say it from a perspective of, think of this. The question which I have is, do you own the, electricity distribution company? No. You only pay for what you use, isn't it? Now, similarly, what if I only pay for what I use and not something which I'm not using at all? So if that becomes there, then it is a very interesting environment altogether. Think of this. Earlier, we used to have something called as Office, 2019, 2016 and all things. When I buy Office 2016, I get MS Access, MS Excel, MS Word, MS PowerPoint. And as a chartered accountant, the maximum thing I'm using is what? I'm using maybe Excel and Word and sometimes PowerPoint. But I'm paying for the whole thing out there. And now what we have, if you are all aware of, we have a new way of looking at things, which is what we call it as Office 365, where you can only go and take Excel only because that is the thing which you are trying to work with. So to understand it, I would say cloud computing is a way where I can have all my computing services, all my computing infrastructure as a service instead of spending on some of the stuff which I don't require. And when it happens, it becomes very important that there are some features which we have to look into. And what are those features, friends? The features are, the first one, we call it as a measured service, which means I should be able to measure how much you are using it. Am I using for hourly basis? Am I using by data? Or how do I do that? Imagine you are a chartered accountant and you start getting your revenue based on number of entry you are passing. It's like a measured services. It should be on demand. Now, on demand is a very interesting thing. So let me ask one question. I don't know if the chat is enabled. Let me see if I can see the chats here. Okay, I think I can. Yeah.
So I'll give you the organizer, right, so that you can see the response.
Okay, sure, I can see.
Not in chat, it will be in questions panel. 1 minute, it will get updated. 1 minute, sir. It's getting updated.
It's getting
Now
okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Questions you can pop up.
Yes. So what happens is, on demand is something which is very interesting thing. Anyone knows that if I want to buy a server or anything today in the market, do you know how much time it will take, friends, for me to buy it? You'll be shocked to know, to buy one server in the market, if I go to HP, I want to go to Lenovo or IBM or any of these companies, Dell, my ETA or the time which is going to take for me to actually receive it, you'll be shocked to know is going to be something in the range of 4 to 6 weeks. Can you imagine that? That's a big number, guys, big time. And it can become a big problem for me if I would like to, have something out there, right? So what is the better way out? So there is on-demand services, which means if I want a server right now, I can actually get it up. Okay. And this is very much possible. I'll show it to you. In fact, we'll go and try to see in one of the server. You can get a server in less than like 5 minutes. Okay. Let me just share my screen and show it to you what I'm talking about here. Okay. So let me just go to, this is Azure, from Microsoft. And this is a cloud-based service provider. So I can get a server here and I'm just trying to see the pricing. So this is the pricing calculator out here. Let me just try to, I want a virtual machine, which is nothing but a server. So you can see on the screen, I'm just going out here and I added a virtual machine. So it's saying, where do I want my virtual machine? I'm from India, so I'll try to search it in somewhere in India. I don't want anywhere else. Let's say South India. It is going to be Bangalore or Hyderabad. I want a Linux machine and I want a Linux. So say Linux is okay. Basic, I don't want standard. And this is the configuration which is there. I want how much GB RAM and all things. Let's say I want to go for this 2 GB RAM, 40 GB memory, one virtual machine, and they will take care of all the licensing and all things. If I want to make it better, I'll give it Ubuntu, which is more cheaper. So depending on what version I want, and I'll say I'll give it for 3 years. Okay. Now, the moment I actually work on this, you can see the cost is coming. It is coming to something around $24 per month, which is nothing, because if I want to buy the same server in the market, it's going to cost me something around 2.5 to 3 lakhs, and it'll be upfront payment I'll be doing. And here I'm paying monthly something around $24. Okay. And if I go for a 3-year contract or 1-year contract, you will see that it is going to be more cheaper than what I can get. Now, why I'm showing you this one is this is on demand, guys. I want it now, I can actually get it up. It's a self-service, just like we do it a self-service portal of income tax or MCA. I'm just trying to get it out there. And I have a rapid elasticity, which means I can actually have it for hours. Imagine for some of the part, I can just keep it when I want it, and when I don't require it, I will be able to do that. And I can have resource pooling, multiple places I can actually use it, and also have a broad network access. All these features allows me to have cloud computing as a very compelling process. So this is what is all about cloud computing. If I have to make it very simple for you friends, I would say that cloud computing is nothing but if I can get any computing services as a utility, just like a electricity company. I pay for how much unit I use. That is something which we are talking about here. And there are some service model and deployment model. I'll talk about that. But I hope we are clear about what cloud computing is all about, guys. Okay. Moving forward, there are some deployment models which are there. Now, this is important for us to understand because a lot of people get confused between this. And I want you to be very, very confident that it's not something different. So cloud computing is like, instead of having my own house, I actually rent a room in a hotel and I pay for the common services and I'm using it. So the kind of hotel services can be of different types here. So I have, what are the options do I have, friends? I have options for public cloud. I just showed you this example of Azure. Now Azure is a public cloud, or I can go to AWS, Amazon Web Services, which is a public cloud. You can actually just go and buy anything what you want. Every one of us can actually subscribe to that. We are using a couple of services out here for our data analytics services and all things. And it is very, very easy to work on. But then there are something else which is called as private cloud. Now, what is a private cloud? See, large companies like Infosys, TCS, Wipro, IBM, they are internally doing so much of work. They want a cloud for everything what is there, which is basically means that When I say internal private cloud, it is there managed by the company itself, and it is meant for the company's internal purpose, and that's why we call it as a private cloud. So it's you and me cannot access it up. It is meant for them. And there is something which is very interesting, which I call as the hybrid cloud. What is a hybrid cloud? Imagine, let's say Panara sir is in Bellary, and Bellary is famous for a lot of things. But imagine Panara sir says that I'm going to invite all of us, whoever are attending this session today, to Bellary for a party, evening snacks party. And he's ordering something around some samosas for all of us, or we are all being invited. And he has figured it out that 100 people are coming to Bellary, and 100 people means 200 samosas we will actually do it. But imagine all of us are all bad people, so we take extra one person with us. So instead of 100 people, there are 200 people at Panara's house. And now he has to suddenly get another, snacks for all the other people. So he will go into the market and buy the thing. Maybe the first set of samosas, he would have got it home prepared, much better quality. That is the private cloud. And the extra thing which we are getting from outside is a public cloud. So basically it's a mix of both. Some part is on, your internal private cloud, and some part is on your public cloud. That is, we call it as a hybrid cloud. And the last one is the most interesting. Let me ask you one thing. How many of you like this car crash videos on YouTube? I think I cannot have the audio shared, right? Huh? Videos cannot be shared, right? So I don't know how many of you have seen this car crash test, which is done. I'm sorry, this is the videos which comes. What is this video testing? They are trying to take a brand new car and they will crash it up. Okay. And they will check it from multiple angle, how safe the car is. Now you all know that this cars, when they are testing, this is like costing around 4 to 5 lakhs and it is being glass. So what companies are doing is they want to do the testing of this not by actual car but simulation. So what do they do for all this car crash? Have you seen the, I don't know how many of you have played these games like Need for Speed and all that kind of stuff. Games are there. In those games, what they do is they will actually check it up that how this cars will be working. So there is a very high end requirement of what we call it as interesting environment, which is to be managed for them. So in that kind of situation, what they do is they will check it up. But in a year, I may be coming out with 30 cars or 40 cars maximum. So it doesn't make sense to spend a lot of money. Now there is a association called Automobile Association of India. They came together and they said, we will make a community cloud. We'll make an environment ready where you can do the simulation of car crash. But in a year, maybe you're coming with 15 new brand or 30 maybe new brand. So you don't require whole year access to this one. So we will manage it for you. And you pay a small, money out there and take that forward. So this is the concept of what we call as the community cloud. And this is used extensively, friends. Community clouds are there across the board. So this is the deployment model, and this is what we all know. I think I don't want to go into detail of this one, but I assume most of us are aware of this. This is what we call as the 3 types of service delivery. We call it as infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. This is the main fundamental 3 model. There are hundreds of model people have come out with their own, like communication as a service, and recently people have come out with working as a service. Anything they can come out. So anything which I can actually put it up as a service, that is something which is come. But let's try to understand what is this infrastructure. I'll explain it to you. Are you seeing this screen here? The products which I'm showing you. Whenever there are base product, like I'm just showing you networking, develop, basically storage, anything which you require. A computer requires to have processing, it requires to have storage, it requires to have networking. What are the basic things are required when they have to be provided? Then it is what we call it as infrastructure as a services, like computing power. But when I require a platform as a services like developer tools, you see this is the developer tool, so developer can use it. and work on that. That is what we call it as very importantly platform as services. So basically the infrastructure is the main part, the basic fundamentals. Platform I built on top of that, and software as services, so all of us are using right now. If you are using Office 365, if you are using QuickBooks, it is nothing but software as services, right? So that is something which we all talk about here. If I have to explain it to you, if I'm using infrastructure as services, the cloud vendor or cloud service provider who is there, he will manage the basic stuff. Like he will provide you the server, he will provide you with that. Everything else will be managed by us. But in a platform as services, cloud vendor will also take care of the operating system, setting up the whole environment for you, and your organization will be managing others. And in software as services, we just plug and play. Everything is ready-made out there, and we don't have to do anything. So this is how the responsibility chart is there in case of a cloud computing overview here. Okay. So friends, this is the fundamental. I just thought I'll first explain the fundamentals, because now we can go deep into all the other part, but this is the fundamentals. So feel free, any questions you have, we can actually take it, or we can take it in the end also, no problem. Moving forward, what are the risks in the cloud? Now, this is also very interesting. So I hope there are a lot of geopolitical issues which happens, right? The Russia and the US are not talking to each other. China and India, US is not talking to each other. There are a lot of issues like that. Even in the cloud risk, we have such issues. There are two schools of thoughts. We have CSA, we have ENISA. ENISA is an European body. CSA is basically a US body. Now, I actually took from their perspective, what are the risks? And can you see the difference which is coming out there? CSA has more issues perspective to data losses, data breach, someone hijacking your account, like, someone take over my account and some issue happened. Recently in Kerala, one of the boy who used to play game on YouTube, his account was hijacked by some service provider. It's a case going on, police case going on right now. So it's interesting, account hijacking, someone taking over your account. Or insecure API, which is application, interfaces which are there, or denial of service, malicious insider, someone internally doing some issues, abuse of some cloud services, insufficient due diligence, because this is something where chartered accountant adds a lot of value, and some technology vulnerabilities. But if you notice, this is the US perspective they are talking about. But when we talk about from the European perspective, their risk is, the first risk they talk about is loss of governance, which means the moment anything goes into the cloud, you don't know who is actually the owner of that, what is happening inside that. And that is true. There's loss of governance. Right now, everything is out there. And you have a lock-in period. You can't come out. Like, for example, I'll give you an interesting example. It is called interoperability. If I'm sure a lot of chartered accountants are using QuickBooks. Now, QuickBooks is a good tool, but imagine, it will not happen, but just imagine, today you come to know that QuickBooks have gone into bankruptcy and they are closing down, and you have all the data out there. Is it possible that you can take the data out from there and put it into other service provider? Presently, no. In cloud service only, it's not possible. So there is a risk which they are talking about. Isolation failure. If anything happens, everything will go down. It actually happened. See, today, Uber of the world and all the big banking sectors are working on AWS cloud. And there was one downtime in AWS cloud which happened for just 5 minutes, and it has a big impact all over the world. So isolation failures are there. There are compliance risks. We don't know what data is being there, who's doing what they interfaces. Yeah, malicious insider, malicious insider, both of them agree to. And on all other part, you can see that they have a different perspective. ENISA has a different perspective. Now, if you ask me what is the correct one, I would say both have their own perspective, which is correct. There is no one single source of truth in terms of what are the cloud risks which are there. Let me give you an example out here. What are the challenges in the cloud? So how many of you know this gentleman? Have you heard about this gentleman? This guy is Edward Snowden, right? Now, Edward Snowden was an employee of Booz Allen, working for whom? For NSA. So he did something, because of that NSA is in problem, Booz Allen is in problem, the whole US is in problem. Now, it is something like the NSA is the cloud service provider. The Booz Allen is nothing but the data center, the service, infrastructure provider. and here is the system admin. If he can actually do something, this kind of issues can happen with us also. So there are now new risks. We need to have new controls as well as new audit steps. And friends, it's very important also because of two reasons why I told it. One, you need to understand for sure that today what is happening is slowly more and more people are moving towards what we call as a cloud environment because it is much easier to do. It is much interesting in terms of how to deal with that. In that kind of situation, it becomes important for us to understand how the control environment is being hosted, who's owning the data, who has access to data. If we don't ask the right question, the challenge which is going to be is simple. We would not know what's happening with your data. You can think of this. I don't know how many of you have read Google's, Google Drive policies. If you see Google Drive policies, do you know one very interesting thing, that any data you are storing on Google, Google has a right to read your data. So it's not confidential anymore. So it may be not a human reading it, but the machines are reading out there. You can read the agreement. They have a right on your data because you are storing it with them free of cost. So we need to understand all these small things, because if you don't know that, then there are going to be challenges. So also there are challenges that, everyone says that if something has happened in the environment, I am not bothered, I am safe, but it's even a small leak in the whole environment will create trouble for not just you, but the whole infrastructure which is there, all the people who are involved, and it is going to become a big challenge for us. Okay. And this is one thing which I always hear it up, especially for people who are in compliance and audit. So last year we recognized that our processes are far more complex. So we put on the cloud. But if you are put on the cloud, don't you think you need to actually understand what's happening out there? Because a lot of time people don't understand that one. And that's the reason we need to understand and appreciate what is cloud risk and why it is important for us to do that. It's a good thing. I'm again telling you guys, cloud is a very good technology, but it's something like Matchbox, right? Matchbox is good. You can just get fire on that, but you can burn a whole house also with that, right? So we should know how to use it effectively and efficiently. And that becomes very important. So let's try to see the different dimensions of cloud risk assurance. Now, when I'm talking about in cloud risk assurance, I took some time to make this slide because I really was thinking what should be the way out. And I found the 6 main dimensions which we need to look into, guys. And this is important because from a perspective of cloud risk and its assurance, the first part which comes is identity and access management. Today, if you're using Tally, it has to be in your environment. No one can access it just so easily unless they come to your premises. But if you're using a QuickBook, don't you think your user ID and password, if anyone can get it up, he can access it from anywhere of the world, right? So user access provisioning, who is having it up, we need to look into that very carefully. Second part we need to have is understanding when a person leaves, how do you take care of the deprovisioning, which means removing him, and who are the people who have super user access. So this is more from identity and access management we need to look into. Also, we have to see one very interesting thing is your financial and vendor management. Guys, it's very important, and I see a lot of chartered accountants are giving services in this area where they will say that, that you have not done the TCO calculation correctly, which we call as total cost of ownership. There are hidden costs sometimes, and it's something which we should know. It's something like you have seen in mutual fund. If you have an exit, time, they can have a charge for you. Or if you are not there for a lock-in period, there can be issues for that. So we need to know about all the things. The third is the regulatory issues, which is more complex than anything now. Why? Let me explain to you. I hope all of are aware of that, there is Companies Act requirements are there now that data has to be stored in India of all the books of accounts. Also, we have new laws coming on data protection, and yesterday we have a new IT minister, and it's interesting. Both the IT minister, both are technocrats. So it's going to be interesting to hear what this thought process they bring it up. But the data protection law is long due. It is supposed to come in very soon. And once it comes, friends, we have to see that what are the industry standards which are there, what are the certification we need to look into. So the regulatory requirements are there. Then comes on the data side, the segregation of data, which means my data is on the same server as my competitor, but I would like to have it segregated. So not every Tom, Dick, and Harry can see my data, and any malicious insider also can't do much harm to me. The last 2 points which are very important. One is from the operational perspective. What do I say it from an operational perspective? From an operational perspective, friends, I need to check for the service reliability and uptime, whether it is properly managed or not. What are the kind of disaster recovery planning which has been taken care of? SLA customizations, SLA service level agreement, all these things I need to look into. In fact, this is one of the big area because imagine a situation. Let me give you one question and you can think of that. I take a service of one cloud service provider who says that I'll give you 98% uptime. 98% time it will be up. Means there can be a downtime of 2%. So 98% basically means in 365 days, I can have a downtime of around how much? 7.5 days, 7 days, let's say. But this application is used for your monthly closing cycle. Now imagine if it is used for your monthly closing cycle, and at the end of the year you found that 6 days this system was down. Out of 7 days it was down only for 6 days, which is allowed. So it has met the SLA, but what are the 6 days it was down? It was down on the 6 days when you are supposed to actually, do what? On the day you are doing the closing. So is it meeting the SLA? Actually not. So we need to look into that. And the last part is the technology part. It's evolving technology. Cloud computing, we are talking about that since 2014 and 15. But in 14 and 15, it was a new technology. Last 5 to 6 years, it has become very, very stable. Do you know nowadays, guys, I don't know how many of you know this or not, but earlier people used to say bank data is not going to be there on the cloud. Government data will not be on the cloud. This is all changing. Do you know Pentagon is, today's news, I don't know how many of you have heard about the news today. Pentagon has actually given a contract of cloud environment to Microsoft. Now they have canceled it today because Amazon has filed a case against them. It was $100 million project, big project. So even defense data is going onto the cloud. So if someone says cloud is not going to work, that is actually a misnomer, which is there. So we need to understand this part clearly, that everywhere it is going to be there in terms of having cloud environment, and the risk we should be aware of and be able to take care of that. Moving forward, friends, I thought there are two things which I want to talk about: an advisory services and assurance services, which is important for us as chartered accountant to understand, because it will be very important for us to give the services, and the client will be look for us to add value to their environment. Am I right? Saurabh will be talking a lot on AI, so you'll notice that one of the things which he will be mentioning is that in each of this area, advisory is very important. So what are the areas where chartered accountant plays a very important role? Cloud vendor evaluation, whether the cloud vendor who is coming is rightly there or not. Is it having a contract negotiation? So I'll ask you one thing, very interesting thing, so that you understand why contract negotiation is very important. See, all of us actually thinks that whatever the agreement which is coming from Microsoft or anything is sacrosanct. That is not true. You can actually negotiate that. If you are buying in bulk, let's say, for example, if I'm buying licenses for institute, there may be like some 10,000 licenses I'll be buying, or maybe 20,000 licenses I'm buying. In that environment, I can very easily negotiate with them. Negotiation would be in terms of that I want my business continuity environment also to be, done it up. So cloud contract can be also negotiated very well, and how the implementation can happen. But the most important thing which I want to share with all of you, and I'll maybe after this I can share with the mail, is on a concept called CCM, which is cloud control metrics. I'm just sharing with you, this is how it looks like. So cloud control metrics is a very interesting piece of document which looks something like that. It is made by CSA, Cloud Security Alliance. And they say that anyone who's doing an audit, just like we do in IFC, RCM, risk control metrics, they gave a name of this to call cloud control metrics. What are the risks in the cloud and what are the controls? And they have divided it in different areas, which is something like from audit and assurance, what are the things? And they have actually covered it very comprehensively. Is it applicable to IAS, PAS, SAS? Is it applicable on physical side, network side, compute side, storage? Remember I talked about the different parameters. Is it from internal perspective? Is it from internal cybersecurity perspective? Is it from the architecture perspective? Is it from software development perspective? We need to look into this control. Is it from operations, legal, privacy, GRC management, supply chain management, HR? What are the area which are getting impacted? So wherever they say true, it is the area which is going to get impacted by that control. And it is very, very comprehensive, guys. I would highly recommend you. It's a freely downloadable. You can actually download it from Cloud Security Alliance. And actually you can, use it in terms of managing it in a very, very better way. So you can see this will be a very, very comprehensive set of document which will tell you everything that, okay, these are the different controls which I need to be having there. These are the, audit and assurance perspective. I need to see that from application interface. I'll explain all of the things, but presently you can see we have more than, I'm just giving you the line items which are there. We have more than close to around, it's around 200 or 217 control points which are there, which is very interesting that, if you can actually focus on this 217 control points, you can always go to the client and say, hey, you know what, we are mapping it out there. So it's a very interesting piece of document which can be managed and effectively taken care of. So I would highly recommend you to basically go through it because it will give you a very good understanding in terms of doing it. And this cloud control metrics is the reference point for all of us, whether you are looking at it from a regulation perspective, whether you're looking from standard perspective, whether you're looking from framework perspective, or you are looking from the architecture perspective. All the places, it is something which adds a lot of value in terms of managing it up. And friends, the most interesting thing is this area. This slide, it took me some time to make, but we will spend some time and understand it up. It is asking for the control domain, not just from, there are 20 plus control domain, you can see it here. So we are seeing the same cloud computing in different dimension, different perspective. And this one is really, really interesting. The first one is all about the application and interface, how the application security is there. What are the audit and assurance requirements I discussed with you? From a business continuity and management perspective, what are the things I need to look into? From a change control perspective, when I say change control, what I'm talking about is any kind of changes in the environment. How do we take care of that? There is a process which we call it about every change has to be documented, approved, and managed. So how do I take care of that? I need to do it. And friends, I hope you know that it's very interesting in terms of what we call it as how we are basically managing it. The reason being very simple. I'll tell you why it becomes very important. Whenever we are dealing with this, you need to understand that the thought process which goes is that every of these points which are there, is it working fine in the way you would like to do that? So changes are documented, approved. I need to also see the data security, what we call it as your complete cycle, how the data security has been managed. Is it being managed properly or not? Then we have data center security, where I've hosted my whole environment in terms of the cloud. My encryption key management, the data which is there, it should be stored in an encrypted format. I'll give you an example. Now imagine you are using one of the Paytm wallet or Airtel wallet or any of this wallet which is there. Now this wallet is connected to your account out there on your mobile devices. So there is a kind of a your account at the cloud level which is being managed. So how does the transaction happen? Is it like proper? Is it like encrypted format, or anyone can see that? We need to understand that. Governance and risk management of the whole environment, how we are doing it. So there are controls on that area also. Human resource perspective. You remember that we had one very interesting point. I don't know if you noticed that one or not. And this is true. There was a point which came in ENISA as well as CSA, which called malicious insider. Malicious insider are the people with bad intention, but who are your employee only. And this is there everywhere right now. For example, are you taking care of all the background check of the people? So there was one very interesting survey among hackers. There is a magazine called Hacker Magazine, and they did a survey and they found out, what is the favorite part-time job of hackers? What is the job they like the max in terms of part-time job? And you know what was the job which came up? You'd be surprised. The job which came out was, nighttime watchmen. They wanted to be nighttime watchmen in the office or, buildings, because in nighttime, no one is going to disturb them. So having a background check is very, very important. Identity and access management, how we are taking care of all the accesses and everything. And that's the reason there are two-factor or three-factor authentication, which is used out there. Dealing with infrastructure and virtualization, which means, all the infrastructure of the cloud, is it being managed properly? Interoperability. This is one of the point I was telling you, friends, which is, if today QuickBooks closed down their shop, can I move to any other service provider? Is the answer yes or no? If the answer is no, then there is no interoperability. But if I can move to them, then there is interoperability. Like for example, if today box.com or Dropbox close down their shop, I can still move to Google Drive or any other service provider. So its interoperability is there. Similarly, mobile devices, what are the security out there? How are they dealing with cloud forensic? All of us are in the digital forensic area, but cloud forensic is very different, because same environment will be used by multiple people. How do we take care of that? How do we bring supply chain management, transparency and accountability in the environment? And last but not least, threat and vulnerability management. Now, these are all these areas which are basically being reviewed in the cloud control metrics. I will just show you it once again. These are the cloud control metrics points, and you will see they are all on the same thing. Audit and assurance, your business continuity. We talked about all these things. Change management, cryptography, okay. Dealing with data center security. What are the things? So each controls which should be there is there. This is like the what we call as the Bible or Gita, what you can think of for every answer which you want to give it up. So I would say for chartered accountant, this is like a ready-made, stuff which you can actually use. So please download it. It's a very interesting piece of document, and it will give you a very comprehensive view on the cloud risk and what are the things which can be managed out there. Moving forward, friends, what are the different, professional service assurance which can be provided? Now, this is very interesting here. This slide took me a lot of time to make, guys. So this is basically more from an assurance perspective, cloud assurance. Today, cloud assurance has become very, very important. I don't know if you have heard about, we have a standard in our auditing standard called SA 402. So I hope all of you are aware of that as a chartered accountant. Now, SA 402 talks about third-party service provider. So any kind of service organization which is basically providing you service, how do you audit it? Now, don't you think next time you are going and you are talking to any of your client and they say that we are using this cloud for this application and all things, you should ask for a SOC 2 report. In fact, SOC 2 is nothing but service organization control report, which will say that is everything proper in that organization? Is the service providers there right or not? And maybe in Indian chartered accountants are not doing it, but I am seeing a lot of AICPA members who are pushing for, they have a similar standard called SSA 18, and there also they require a SOC 2 report or SOC 1, SOC 3, different reports which are there, and it's very much used. I think as a chartered accountant, we should also ask for next time whenever we go to a client, say that can you show me an SA 402 report, whether your controls are proper out there in the cloud environment or not, and that has to be looked into. So the first part which is there, so the 5 areas which are there, friends, I wanted to talk about. The first area is actually on identity and access management. Now, basically the idea here is that I need to verify only the authorized people are coming to that. The access is, the risk is unauthorized person can come. So my whole idea is to have authorized people only able to access it. You remember the term called malicious insider also. Even if you are part and parcel of that organization, I want to be very, very sure that everything is working in tandem, everything is working properly. All the security has been handled in a proper way. And that is something which we have to do that. So we have to see the physical security of data centers, the proper segregations are there or not, how the accessibility is there, how the password strengths are there, how they are using what kind of hardware or software token. You have seen this secure ID where the number get generated. Are you using a software token or a hardware token? What kind of things we are working on that? Are people getting, proper access right reviewed at a regular point of time? If you go to any of the data center friends, you'll be shocked. They have audit on a quarterly basis. That is a big, big issues, and they have to take care of all these things. So it becomes very important for us to look into that. And also periodic review of who is having super user access. So one of the very interesting thing I wanted to share with you, friends, there is a kind of a fundamental rule. The rule is something like that. Every ID should be assigned to a human. So if that ID is used somewhere, we know a human who is the responsible person for that. Because many time in many organizations, there are something called orphan IDs. You will see in many offices, they will have one ID being used by all the people or sharing of the IDs. That is not a good practice. It will create trouble for you, not at that point of time, but at a later point of time. So we need to understand that properly. The second areas on assurance is data protection. I hope all of us know data is the new oil. So if you are having a new oil, you have to protect the oil also. So do we have enough data protection policies and procedures? And the last word, third word, which you're seeing out here is very interesting. And I don't know how many of you have noticed this. It is called practices, right? So these practices which are there, we need to see for ourselves how this is being managed. This practices has to be looked into in terms of the proper processes, how it is being worked out. All these things has to be looked into in terms of the management. So those are the things which we talk about, and this is how we are basically dealing with that. So here in data protection, we have to see what kind of sensitive data is being sent out there. Now, if there are some, I hope all of you remember some time back, your Domino's pizza, there was a data leak, okay? And nothing much happened. All your account number or your home address, everything was leaked out there, and people are having that data, but no one says anything. If the same thing would have happened in any other part of the world, by that time, the amount of cases being filed against them would have been very high. And why I'm telling you this is because, there is a data breach which happened in US for a company called Equifax. I don't know if you've heard about this company or not. This is the company. Let me just show it to you. It's called Equifax, and I actually got $16 because I was part of they had this was a data breach which happened. Okay, this is the time you can see the settlement Equifax 2017, the data breach. You can be a part of if like I had a SSN number, my social security number. I was in US earlier, and my data was also leaked, social security. So I was part of a class action suit, and I got something around, I think, $180 as what we call it as my you can say that kind of compensation for the data leak. But that total amount became big one. So this was a company which went into a data leak, and there was a big issue. So we need to understand that how the data protection is done, because it is possible that your organization may go into bankruptcy. And I'm telling you, friends, just check out the section 43 of IT Act. It is applicable to even chartered accountants. So it's actually a kind of a very interesting section, which can create a lot of havoc if it get proper teeth. Right now, people have not realized the importance of that section, but the moment they will realize, they will understand when the Data Protection Act comes, we are going to have a big problem out there, because this management of all this kind of things would be something which will be expected from even small organizations and other things. The third is technology risk. Now, technology risk is Are you using only one service provider? Is it good enough? Is it like have properly take care of all the risk? Are there a proper patching, proper approach out there? There is a segregation of duties in the technology environment. Are they logging all the transactions, whatever the logs are being done? So I need to see all the technology risk are also there, because these are the key issues which we need to look into. If we don't understand this one, then there can be a challenge in terms of dealing with this. What are the challenges which can be there, and manage it. Then friends, the next one is on the IT support and operation. So we need to understand that the service provider or the cloud service provider, how is he taking care of all the proper agreements and all that thing? How he's basically managing it up for us? How is actually doing a communicating if something goes wrong? Are there proper monitoring is happening on that? And they're taking periodic backup because my data is there. And is there a kind of a review of all the key parameters and all the things? So I need to see it from an operation perspective. And last but not least, from the regulatory perspective. Now, this is very, very interesting thing, because today the jurisdiction of legal jurisdiction on cloud service provider can be of different type. So when we are doing these things, we need to not just see from privacy perspective, GDPR, HIPAA, or Sarbanes-Oxley. It can be also our Section 43 of IT Act or Data Protection Act. So depending on this, we need to be very, very careful how you're going to deal with that. If any breach happen, who's going to be the communication? All that things has to be looked into. So friends, this is the 5 key point audit objective which we try to look into that when you are giving a professional services on assurance. So just to recap, it is basically on identity and access management, data protection, technology risk, operations, and regulatory. So these are the 5 areas where we have to look into. Moving to the last part of my discussion, this is how we usually go for assurance and cloud service provider, and every cloud service providers basically will be asking for the services. So there is a preparatory work which goes, there are field work which we work on that, there are findings which are looked into. So all these things are basically being managed, and we have to develop the plans, control objective. In CCM is like your, I would say most interesting set of document which can we do, and based on that we do a lot of documentations, test all the field work which is to be done, or design effectiveness, operation effectiveness, and document it. This what you're seeing on the right hand side are more of the templates we use in terms of managing this cloud service providers review, because that's one of the area which is there. And these are some of the common findings, friends. I just thought I'll put it up because these are the most common finding you will find. I call this as the ready-made template. We actually keep this ready. There will be any client where you will not find these issues. So that is the reason this is actually a very, very interesting set of common issues. Like there used to be a kind of a joke going on earlier. We used to call it up that you will always find issues in change management. So that was the thing when we were doing SDLC audit. So the first common finding is password settings for cloud resources. That it is, let's say for example, in my organization, I'm set up a policy saying that it should be 8-character alphanumeric and it should be changed every 90 days. But when I go to the cloud resource, it can be application or virtual server, there I've set up a password which is only 4 characters or anything as such. Now, are you seeing that there is a mismatch between what I'm actually putting as the organization policies and what I put it for my third-party cloud? Because I'm not managing it, it is just there, I'm taking it like. You won't believe in Equifax case, this is similar thing which happened. In one of the system, the password was set as password and the hackers were able to get it, and they actually took a big loss of close to around $4 billion which happened to these people because of that. So you can understand small mistakes can actually create a big trouble out there. Then comes, friends, the port settings, which is nothing but ports are nothing but in the cloud server there are different entry and exit points. So if you remember, if you're working on Tally, you notice in Tally multi-user version you have port number 9090 or port number 9000 through which the data comes. So from that perspective, there are port settings in cloud server has to be looked into. We need to have appropriate way of managing it up, that how people can access it. The third very common audit finding which we find is there is lack of policy and procedures. So there is no policies, no procedures. If any incident happen, if any challenges happen, how do you deal with that? Nothing is mentioned about that. And that is something which can become a big problem. So we have to see it from a perspective of that, are there proper policies? The fourth one, you will always find it. This is, I don't know why this is an issue we always find, but this is a interesting challenge, friends. That is terminated. The people have been removed from the organization. They are no more part of the organization, but their access is still there. And this is the common audit finding always, which is there, because they have no one is bothered about checking it up at a regular point of time. This person's their access from the company's infrastructure has been removed, but somehow they forgot to remove it from today. They have forgot to do that for other purpose. So that is the reason we need to basically manage and we need to be very, very careful about all the employees which are transferred to other departments. So they are, one is terminated employee, one is second one is transferred employee. So they are no more doing that part, but they still have access. Also the SOC report I talked to you about, this is very important. SA 402 I think should become one of the most important essays in our institute, but unfortunately I don't know, we don't pay a lot of I would say importance to that. But if you see what is happening in US and other part of the world, in fact there is another section, international section called ISA 3402, which is same as 402, and there are, you can just Google it out, you'll find out how much people are providing services on that area, and that's important for us to understand. Then comes, friends, sensitive data, PII, because the data which we are storing on the cloud, many time it is not encrypted. So if it is not encrypted, what does happens? There are challenges. We face issues in terms of, okay, how it is being worked, what are the challenges which are there. No one is bothered about that. This data can be misused by someone, and we have to look into that. And last but not least, administrators who are there, they are using a shared password. How can we know it? Is a very easy thing. If you actually take 1 month access data of who has logged on from which IP address, you'll find that there are multiple IP addresses are being used to log on to the cloud. So that itself tells us that, okay, there is something wrong, and we need to look into that. So friends, just to summarize, what happens is cloud computing, we need to understand, is now slowly becoming a de facto standard in computing. It is no more a separate kind of environment architecture. It is like the de facto structure. Organizations are going for it. Now, as chartered accountant also, we have to adapt it as part of the pandemic, as well as to make sure we are able to run our shows better. And it's very important for us to understand the whole fundamentals in terms of what we call it as, what is the deployment models, what are the different types of approaches which can be followed. And as I told you, even in those things, there are 6 dimensions of cloud secure risk which we need to be able to manage. So they were basically from the data perspective, from policies perspective, from the infrastructure perspective, the cloud service provider perspective, all of that things which has to be there. And as chartered accountant, we can provide a very interesting services to our clients on this area, both as advisory, where you are setting up the controls, like I mentioned about cloud control metrics, cloud security, and all that kind of thing, as well as cloud assurance. So this is something which will be very, very interesting, which you can actually use and manage it effectively, because whether we like it or not, these are the things which are going to become de facto standards in time to come. So that's the reason it is important for us to know the importance of that. Okay. So in the summarizing, I would say you can always expect the unexpected. When you are doing with cloud environment and cloud computing, there are going to be a lot of interesting challenges, because it is no more as the standard approach what we have learned about, but it is always like this only. What happened was, the moment we were actually earlier in the mainframe environment, we came to a desktop environment, there was a different approach. Now we are going back to a cloud environment. This is going to be another different approaches which are going to be there, and we have to adapt to that. And it's important for us to understand it up, because what it looks on the outside and what is its inside is pretty different. So unless our fundamentals are clear, we understand it clearly, we would not be able to add much value on terms of what it is and how it has to be done. So as a future technology, we need to appreciate it, use it, advise people on using it, as well as take the benefit of it. I'll give you one example how it basically works out very well. See, I used to work for Infosys, and Infosys uses CRM, and that is an SAP CRM, and which would have implementation cost itself was more than around 60, 70 lakhs. Now, I'm a small enterprise, I can't actually afford that. So when we set up, we actually moved to many of the application on a SaaS model. So what was this application? We are using a human resource management system for all the things. We are using a customer relationship management system. We are using a system to do the CRM part, which is all of the thing, or salary processing, or let's say for example timekeeping. All of them are not hosted in my environment. They are all on the cloud. I pay only monthly, per employee something around 600 rupees, and that is all what I have to do. I don't have to worry about anything. But when I have done it, I have to worry about that my data is stored in multiple places. Multiple information is there. So I need to know all the things which can go wrong and accordingly manage it up. So this is what, friends, we need to understand from the perspective of cloud computing. Any questions? I know I have around 10 minutes more. I just thought I'll finish it earlier. So if you have any questions, feel free. I'll be more than happy to answer it. Yeah, let's see this.
They asked for presentation and you can see the questions.
Sorry, sir.
You can see the questions panel in the questions.
Yeah, I can see it now. I can see the presentation.
Let them post it.
Yeah, sure. I'll just. But one of the things which I just thought, okay, I'll stop the sharing of the thing so it's become better. Yeah. So my only point, friends, which are all of you who are attending it right now, is that when we are talking about cloud computing, there are going to be a challenging environment. It's not going to be easy for first time. I'll give you one simple example. A lot of people take backups on their desktop, or on a kind of what we call it as different environment. They would be taking it up on hard disk and all. Of late, I know a lot of very interesting things. Chartered accountants, what they have done is they actually took a OneDrive access of 1 TB, connected their whole office machines to that, and at real-time basis, all the data is being done. Because now, thanks to Mukesh Bhai, we don't have to pay so much of money for internet connections. Your connection can be connected all the time, and we don't have to worry about that. So why should I worry about that? Today there are new challenges, ransomware, this issue, that issue. Your laptop may crash and all things. So the best option is put everything on the cloud and you just forget it up, because the cost of internet and all the thing has gone so down drastically. We don't have to worry about it. And thanks to the kind of infrastructure we have today, it can be easily managed. So that makes whole life easier for everyone in terms of dealing with that. So those are the things which I thought I will share with you. Okay, so no question, then it is like this very clear. I have given a very good examples and all things, so all are clear on that. Or,
Yes. Yes, sir.
yeah.
I already told you at the beginning. It will be like child's play or learning the whole thing in single day. That is the feeling we get when we attend your sessions.
No, it's
Yes,
a
DC
pleasure.
sir. Yes, DC sir, anything to add on?
No, I think as usual, excellent, sir. As to how to go about, and last what he said, there are a lot of ways where we could easily do things like using this OneDrive and Google Drive. You can actually go virtual next moment
Yeah.
actually, and 1 TB is available at a very reasonable cost of around 6,000, 6,500 bucks actually.
Very cheap, sir. I'm telling you, it's like now what has happened is cloud computing. I have a friend of mine who is a chartered accountant, and you will be shocked to know he's a chartered accountant. He works for Microsoft Azure. And you know what is his role? His role is to basically showcase to large client what is the total cost of ownership of the solution. Like large client, when I'm saying it is companies like Shell and all the thing, when they come to Microsoft, he justifies them that this is your total cost of, and he was telling me one very interesting thing. He uses NPV, net present value. So he will be basically showing that this is the money you're going to spend today, and here it is spread over a period of 24 months. You can think of that. They have to justify it up. So what they try to show themselves is that we are more cost effective. I told you, if I go for all the application which I was mentioning, like CRM and HRM, and buy it off, it will be more expensive, but it is hosted right now. Zoho is one of the, Chennai is the hotbed for all cloud applications. They have so many cloud application. I am sometimes surprised how do they come out with so much of ideas. So it's very interesting. We are using it for many of the things, and it makes the life easier because today, Panara sir, DC sir, they're all right now, Madurai, Bellary, I'm here. We're all working out here. This is also a cloud service provider right now, webinar which is being hosted. This is from the cloud service provider. So thanks to all these services, we are actually able to, have a very great learning experience and share all our thought process.
In fact, Anand sir, to add further, if people are still looking for cheap, MS365 has got more home section where
Yeah.
you can get 6 accounts, 1 TB each for the same 6,500 rupees.
Sir, I will tell this one is something which I have always a thought process. I'm just sharing in technology. There is nothing called free lunch. First thing. So what happens is if they are telling you free, your data is not safe. I would always I am fine to pay some amount and do that, then go for that one. Because as you rightly said, sir, it's very cheap, like 6,000 you get one terabyte hard disk also, and here it is getting live, updated, and all the thing. You don't have to worry about taking
No
backup.
backup required, no ransomware, no antivirus.
No issues at all, and by the way, I know this very clearly because three of my students called me up recently. One was in Kanpur and two were in Bhopal. They had a ransomware attack, and you know why it is happening to chartered accountant? I'll tell you. We chartered accountant are the financial custodian of this country. The amount of financial data in our offices which is there, if it goes out in the market, can you imagine what will happen? I remember one of my friend is there who is into GST. Every month he become very rich for one day when all the people will put the money in his account. I said one day I will actually hack your account and take all the money because he showed, he showed me the balance. I was shocked how much money is coming to his account only for one day. Then everything will go out. Okay, but for one day he's like, amazing life he can have. That kind of money comes in his account. So the point which I'm trying to just bring out here is, this is what we need to, worry about and take that forward. Yeah.
In fact,
So
Anandji,
that's,
when you spoke about this, the financial custodian of data, we were speaking about in one of the sessions on this data privacy bill. This not become an act. Forget about we advising the clients on how to protect their data. If anything happens to our data, the client sues you, telling that you are having the data and because of your breach, my information has gone public. We can also be in trouble going forward. Actually,
right.
Yes, yes.
Sure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay.
Thank you very much,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Thanks a lot.
So thank you very much, sir. Definitely all the members are very much benefited, and SIRC are definitely as usual. We express our happiness and
Thank you,
thanks
sir. Thank you, sir.
for your presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So DC sir, you are staying back or?
yeah, I'll be staying for some time, sir. Do we have the second
Yeah.
speaker?
Yeah. Second
Yeah, it's
speaker
okay.
is-
You take a second. 1 minute, sir.
Okay.
Subhash.
So we'll have a short break, sir. I'll just get back.
Okay.
So that's Anand sir. So you can unmute yourselves.
Yes.
Chat box also.
Yes. Okay. Now can I go?
Yes, sir, you can go. Sir.
So dear members, a small announcement. I am sorry to say that the second speaker, Saurabh Goenka, is it?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Mr. Saurabh Goenka has to attend an emergency. That one of his close associates has met with an accident, and so he has left. So very sorry to inform you this that we will not be able to continue this his session today, and it will be very shortly we will be able to take up this session under the same stream at the earliest possible after hearing from him. We have received a message that he is there to attend his close associate who has met with an accident. So very sorry for that, and I wish so nothing, what's called big trouble happens to his associate, and wish him all the best. And with that, we'll close for the day. Thank you all the participants, and also thank you, Mr. Dungarchan Jainji, for making this happen. And I'll request you to be in touch with the speakers if at all you have fixed him up. And
friends, whenever the new date is announced, do not miss. He's an excellent speaker. The session is worth attending, and please do not miss that.
Yes, yes, we'll have at least that one hour special session.
Correct.
Yeah. So with this, I thank you all for the day's program, and see you again at the earliest. Thank you all. Thank you, DC sir.
Right, sir. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, Silva. Take care.